Well, the Border Management Authority has confirmed that the Lebombo border post between Mozambique and South Africa is now fully operational. But the situation in the neighbouring countries remains on a knife's edge as Mozambicans await opposition leader Venâncio Mondlane's announcement tomorrow. A violent protest erupted last month due to claims of election fraud. Newzroom Africa's Juniour is on the ground in Mozambique. And also joining us live with the latest at the Lebombo border post is Nqobile Madlala. But Juniour, let's start with you and talk to us about what's happening inside the country. We believe that we've seen waves of these protests, and it's possible that this week may see a fresh start to those protests.
Indeed, Naledi, there has been a halting of the protests over the weekend as the opposition leader, Venâncio Mondlane, as well as the current president, Filipe Nyusi, and the Frelimo candidate, presidential candidate, who say to have won these elections, Daniel Chapo, have been discussing how to go forward from these election results. We know that the Electoral Commission was supposed to basically hand over its affidavit to the highest court in the land on Friday. It seems like they have missed that deadline. So now the waiting is for the highest court in the land basically to come back with the judgment, as well as to find out from these leaders what sort of agreement they've managed to reach over the weekend. So we do expect the opposition leader to make an address tomorrow, but it's still unclear what time tomorrow he is going to make that public announcement to his supporters on whether to continue with the arrest or basically to halt it until the elections are declared. But this time during which there was a bit of peace that has taken place over the weekend has allowed some of the family members who've lost their loved ones to basically bury those loved ones, and also for those that were injured to try and make their way to hospitals and try and get assistance. But speaking about individuals that were actually shot and injured, we did manage to speak to one gentleman, a 28-year-old Lebombo Mondlane. He also has the same surname as the opposition candidate, but no relations there. It's just a common surname here in Mozambique. But we did manage to speak to him. He was unfortunately shot about 5 times, but this is what he had to say when he spoke to Newzroom Africa earlier today.
Eu estive aqui na estrada a conversar, por exemplo, no quintal, a conversar com amigos. Minha mulher e meus primos estavam a conversar aqui a jogar dama. Então ouvimos barulho de tiros, os homens desceram para lá embaixo, lá perto da pastelaria. Aí tiraram fogos lá, nós aqui a conversar. Quando o carro sobe, ele para aqui em frente à mafureira, ele reduz um bocado até a mafureira. Manipula a arma e dá tiro. Quando ele dá tiro, fiquei com 4 balas nos pés. Fiquei com uma no pé direito, aí por aqui em cima. E fiquei com outra no joelho. E aqui tenho uma e a outra aqui. Sim. Mas dentro disso aí, o pé sozinho, às vezes perco o controle do pé. Mesmo aqui em casa, perco o controle do pé.
That is Olivio there. Naledi basically explained what happened to him. Possibly he says that he was shot by army officials during that protest. He was mistaken for being part of those protesters, but he was one of the lucky ones who actually survived the shooting. One individual whose family we spoke to earlier, whose name is Silvio Gemanes, actually lost his life during these protests, and we spoke to his mother. She had this to say.
O que aconteceu aqui aconteceu no dia 25 de outubro. O meu filho estava a voltar do serviço. Quando chegou na padaria, que é o seu caminho de volta para casa, encontrou-se com amigos a protestar. Então, ele também entrou no grupo, começaram a manifestar. E aí estavam os policiais que estavam a balear. E balearam a ele na cabeça e morreu no local.
No, devastated families that have spoken to Juniour Khumalo, who is live for us in Mozambique. But let's check in now with Nqobile Madlala, who is in Komati Port in Mpumalanga, where authorities have confirmed that the Lebombo border post is now fully operational. Of course, some questions as to how we're looking now, Nqobile, with regards to that backlog for the trucks that were making their way in and out of Mozambique. And then, of course, I imagine, and we'll be speaking to the Road Freight Association as well, the counting really being done now as to how much the industry may have lost.
Well, yes, Naledi, it's a lot that has been lost by the industry, because you'll know that for every truck that's standing here, that's the work that has not been done. For those 4 or 5 days that we had trucks that were standing here, there's quite a lot that was lost. However, it's very different now, Naledi. In fact, I can tell you that there are trucks that are just lining in to come into, to go into Mozambique, and out others who are coming out to South Africa. Very easy, it's very clear. When we spoke to Mozambican officials on the other side, they did tell us that they've already processed over 1,000 trucks. And as you drive on the N4 and you get into the side of what they refer to as kilometer 4, this area is in Rosano Garcia, which is the nearest township in this area. This is where there was so much damage. As you walk around that area, we could see visible damage, Naledi. You could see cars that were turned upside down. You could see some of the offices that were broken into, glasses everywhere. You could see some of the infrastructure that was just broken into. There was quite a lot. You could see a trail of damage that was left behind by some of the protesters. And that cleanup operation was underway, as we could see some of the officials that were on the ground cleaning up. However, when we spoke to the transport minister in Mozambique, he did say to us it's going to cost millions of dollars to replace most of the stuff that was broken into by protesters. However, what they have done now is they've intensified law enforcement. So they have police and they have soldiers, or the military within the space, to ensure that there is no destruction of infrastructure going forward. As you drive out also of the immigration office into kilometer 4, you can already see there are police within that township. The township is quite busy, so you can see some of the remnants of the trucks where they were burnt, where it was looted. You can see on the floor. So it's still visibly there, and some trucks are still laying on the road burnt. So you can see there's some remnants. But as you drive going on to Maputo, you can see also the military that is escorting certain trucks as they go in. There are other different stops as well where they are able to stop, and that is being secured. As you go into Maputo as well, you see less police officials, and you can see that people have gone back into normalcy. However, if you are on the ground, and especially on this side of the border, you already hear murmurs from the people that are on the ground that tell you that there are messages that are being circulated that potentially something will happen tomorrow, which would be Monday. You also see and hear voice notes from some of the truck drivers here that are sharing it to each other to just be careful on the next day if you're driving into Rosano Garcia or into Mozambique. And really, it clearly gives a little bit of indication that things are not quite clear yet. However, officials say they have put a pin in it, and that they are already on alert, that they will react in however way that they need to on both ends. And South African side, from the MEC of Safety, they have said that they have put a pin in it. They will make sure that they react. And on the other side, you're also hearing that the officials are saying soldiers on the ground, police on the ground, they will not tolerate any destruction of infrastructure.
Yeah, and of course, I can imagine that for those truck drivers, an official word very important for them as to which information they are receiving. They need to take seriously about particularly operations from tomorrow onwards, where there are few fears that the unrest could flare up again. And Nqobile Madlala, though, speaking to us from the Lebombo border post, that we do understand at this point is fully operational. We'll be in conversation with Gavin Kelly, who's the CEO of the Road Freight Association, in a few moments. So do stay with us here on News at Prime.